Welcome to PMDB. I have Matt with us. Now, one thing which we don't talk about much kind of through the times which we were struggling is that it isn't always all bad. In fact, there's some of the stuff which we have a lot of fun with. It's not the best thing, but today we're going to be talking about the great times in the shit times. So my story is just a story of me and two mates smoking, basically. And I don't know if you've ever heard of a tulip zoot.
What's a zoot? What?
Do you not know what a zoot is?
What's that Bristol talk, or is that?
No, that's not even Bristol.
No,
I didn't think that was Bristol talk. So a zoot basically is tobacco and weed.
Right.
But what you have in a tulip zoot is you have a zoot, and then at the end there's like this tulip, which has like about a 20 in it of
What's
just...
a 20? You've made this up.
I have not made this up. I will show images of what a tulip zoot looks like. Like this. But basically, you have a zoot, which is like a normal joint.
Yeah.
And then at the end, you have a blunt. Smoking that is a nightmare because...
I can imagine.
Yeah. Because basically, you have to suck quite hard to get anything, because there's like... The flame is like further away, basically. So also it didn't hit quite at the right time, and then we're like, oh, it's not really hitting and stuff like that. And I think the problem was that also a lot of the front ashed, and then it kind of got stuck, and we were just like, okay, we can't smoke it. So we went back in, and then like looked in the mirror because you have to get through the bathroom, and like our eyes were just like starting to already get quite large, and you're like, what? I don't feel that high or something like that. Now. So we went back into my room. 20 minutes we had a conversation about whether we were high or not. 20 minutes. And it basically went like this. Was my mate just said like, I don't think I'm that high, you know, like I can feel it a bit, but this isn't like the strongest and stuff. And then my mate said like, was kind of like, oh, well, no, hang on, we've been having this conversation for quite a while, so I think we are quite high or something like that. Then me going, oh my God, guys, we're fucking high, clearly. And literally... that going around in a circle for 20 minutes. It was hilarious. Like, I had fun with weed is the interesting thing. Sometimes I'd be giggling. But I think it was very, very, very easy for it to get too intense, basically. And once it got to that point of too intense, then paranoia and everything kicked in. It used to be basically, whenever any of my mates came around or something like that, it'd be like, oh, do you want to smoke a zoot? And then you'd like go like, okay, well, cool, we'll smoke. By doing that, it meant that anything which we did kind of had to be quite chilled afterwards.
Yeah.
So... for me, basically, I wanted to watch The Shining one time, and my mate came around and he said like, oh, okay, cool, let's smoke a bit first. So we smoked a bit first, and then literally we watched about 10 minutes of The Shining, and I was like, no, I gotta switch this off, it's way too intense. Yeah. It was just horrible.
Do you think about weed, like, is it still something that you think about? Or is it just part of your...
I think it is still something very, very occasionally. So like, because, I mean, you know, why not? I have so many friends which smoke, and you just like, oh, it'd be nice if I could, you know, just have a joint and stuff like that. And there was definitely enjoyable times, but like the risk factor is so high with it. And not only that, I'm quite a well level now. So if I was to smoke again, what if that like literally suddenly put me back into a lot of heavy damage?
It's just not worth it.
Yeah, it's not worth it at all. Do you have any stories similar to that?
Well, I suppose. Well, I think drinking in general, like especially if you go out, and it is inherently fun. Mm-hmm. So then when it starts becoming problematic, it's just really confusing because it's still fun, but it just has this sort of, I don't know, other side to it. So it just took me ages to get around that. And it still is fun, like if I end up going out or whatever, which I don't really do often, but yeah, and even when I'm not in a good place and I drink, it's still a laugh. Mm-hmm. And that's hard to like understand. And it's hard to see other people enjoying it with less consequence. Coming from like a small village where I'd go out once a week and I'd have to get on a train to a different city and I'd go and crash with my friends and it was quite a social thing, is that now when I went out with my friends in Bristol, then I'd end up going home alone and it was less social, and also I could do it whenever I wanted because I was in the city. So that was really difficult to like get my head around, and it started becoming quite miserable. And I remember one time specifically, my head just like feeling like it was dropping and just feeling this huge sense of dread about being alone. And then when I got home, I like shat myself, pissed myself, and puked up in the bathroom at once. It made me laugh because it was easier to deal with than like being in my head. And that stuff's quite funny.
Yeah, for sure.
And people doing stupid things it helped, because if it was just horrible, then you wouldn't do it.
Yeah, for sure.
So it was a weird balance.
The biggest problem is that, like you said, because that was shit, but that was like hilarious at the same time, right? Is that basically even the shit times afterwards, they become funny in your mind because, like you said, that's the way of dealing with it.
Exactly.
Like, got so many mates which do this as well, when they'll just say, like, "Remember that time you absolutely fucked off your face and stuff like that," and you're like laughing about it.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure in that moment it wasn't good.
That's why I'm sort of glad that when I was getting really drunk, that it was so over the top and there was so many stupid things going on, because it became really obvious quite quickly that it was probably a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I sort of know people who get maybe equally as drunk, not inherently like silly or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They just do it over, weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, and you can see the effect on their like, mental health. But because they're not addressing it, because they're in a nice pub having nice beers, and I don't really regret half the stuff, because it's like it was fun, and I had like a good couple of years where there wasn't that much consequence to it. I don't remember there being much to it, and it was just fun, and I'm glad I got it like out of my system.
With weed, even I had fun, like, even though I had like the intensity and stuff like that, and sometimes I definitely didn't have fun on weed, and sometimes I had quite a lot of fun on weed. And but the interesting thing for me is when people start using, I think, anything in general as kind of a way for them to deal with stuff gets more problematic. So say, for example, you need to smoke, like, to, like, chat or like be sociable or whatever. It's a more, or like you've had a hard day, so you smoke, or you have a beer and stuff. I think that is just as problematic in some ways. I don't know.
I think you can easily like abuse a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I guess alcohol and maybe even like weed is quite obvious, but people abuse like food or even like just like sex. A lot of the problems are usually within people's ability to like be vulnerable or be trusting. That is often the problem, I think, for a lot of people. And a lot of it is about being sort of happy with yourself. Thank you very much for watching PMDB.